Well, what do you know? Key pumps again. Let's check out all the action and see if we can decipher what's coming up next. Let's get into this. What's up, people? Carlton Flowers here, your crypto pro, and Key is on the radar today with some pretty serious action. We're going to check out this little pump that's going on right now and then look at the big picture to see if we can determine what's going to happen next and what the evidence is that would support our guess. All right, let's get rid of that and jump straight into the chart on the 4 hour. As we can see, I've got the previous pump that went all the way up to nearly 1 cent. I think it did go above 1 cent before, which is just phenomenal. That's like a 5x gain over the point that I entered at the first time, which was 0.0022. I picked up another bag after that, somewhere around 0.0018, and then last night or the night before, I can't even remember because I haven't been sleeping much watching all this action, I picked up yet another bag because it dropped into my buy zone. Let's just zoom in here and I'll show you what that is. What I usually do is this. I'll draw out a little green box and I'll tell myself, if price action drops into this green box, I gotta buy. So I drew that box when we were around here at this previous pump, and all of the indicators were telling me that we were going to sail back down because we had this double stochastic peak. And then as the stochastic was pointing downward, I thought, well, maybe there's a chance that we could drop down below a good entry point where I could get another bag if it continued far enough into the oversold zone. So I drew my box out here. And as we can see, on the first stochastic dip, I thought, well, it's not going to happen. It's already starting to move back up. But lo and behold, the fast line crossed over the slow line right here at around October the 13th, and we dipped down into the zone. So I bought right here in the middle of the box. I thought, well, should I wait till it goes lower? And then I told myself, no, you made a rule. If we drop into the box, pick up a bag. Oh boy, am I so glad that I did that. So out of the clear blue sky, and I still don't understand why, we got all of this massive volume going on right here. And then we have yet another pump. So look at these volume bars there. That is just amazing. Stochastic is peaked out on the 4 hour, which tells me that we could be due for settling back down and a correction after this massive pump, or it could regain its strength and jump up again. So I've got a critical level here that I drew in that comes from a previous resistance where I decided if we stay above this line, this could set a new base. So I'm watching this action to see what we do. Are we going to hold this base or are we going to fall back through? Now, just zooming out on this 4 hour, I'm going to show you what I think the possibilities will be if we hold that line and if we fail to hold that line. All right, so zipping all the way back here, let me show you where this line comes from. If we go way, way, way back to September the 2nd, we see that after the major pump, this was the first stopping point where we jumped back up and we get that wave action that happens during a correction. And this wave action is generally as people are in a frenzy, and then a lot sell off, and then they change their mind, a bunch come back on, then we sell off again, and we whipsaw until we get to the base point. So we corrected all the way back down below this previous base that was set on August the 22nd. Okay, so that's where this baseline comes from. Well, let's head back over here to the right side. If we hold this base, I think we could move up to this next fib circle ring, which is, let me see, I'm gonna have to jump to the 1 day chart so I can tell you which ring this is. We're way up here above this line, scrunching this down, and it is the 3.618 ring. And this is based on the action from the swing from the 18th of April, peaking out on the 18th of July. Okay, so we could probably get another set in, but it's so steep up here to this pump. it might not tell us much because the length of those rings is going to be really short. So I think there's going to be some action around this line. If we stay above this base, this line might cause a pump, or we might crawl back down to this line and find a base. And then when we hit this 4.618, we might hit another pivot. But notice how price action tends to bounce around these rings. We bailed off of this ring at the 1.618, and we shot up, took a quick breather, pumped all the way up to the top and annihilated the 4.618. And that was such a pump that I knew that was going to come back down. And so as we settled down, we oscillated around the 2.618. Generally, it's not totally sticking towards this line. And then we side banded straight into this pump. All right, so if we do not hold that line, what do we expect to see? Well, I would say that we would probably settle back down towards this line and trade in this zone here, where maybe we touch back down onto the 3.618 line. And then at that point, we might bump up and then take another leg down. But if we draw a general trend line, let's just say here, we'll get a blue line in here. Here's our overall trend coming up. This could be where our critical intersection of these fib circles could mark where the bounce could happen. So what happens here, if things are going well, we could propagate towards this baseline, jump back up, hit another little bounce, settle back down, and have a completion of wave action that takes us out to the end of this 4.618. Now, if that happens, what you're going to see, what you'll notice is we're going to be forming another triangle. So if we keep this blue line as the base, and then we come with the peak here that's off the chart, if we connect these dots, we can see that we'll have somewhat of a, not an ascending triangle, because an ascending triangle would look, somewhat like this. And then a descending triangle looks like this with a flat bottom, and one that is symmetric kind of has equality on both ends. But we see that we don't have either of that with this triangle that could be forming. So if we come from here and we point it on down, and then we respect this baseline here, it's almost a parallel triangle. And so this might be the target of where the next decision point could be, and that would set us out here in the year 2021. Let's just clear this out real quick, turn drawing mode off, and zoom in and see where that date would be. We're looking at the end of December, right crossing over into the new year. Now, here's the interesting thing. People are saying that we're going to be on this pump right now with Bitcoin, and I'm not a believer until I see it, because we have a slight rejection that's happening at 12,000. And I think that we're premature on the big run, because I'm a believer in the fact that the action we see right now is similar to what happened in 2016. And that the big bull market, from what we saw in the parabolic run at the end of 2017, I think that's going to occur next fall. And that coincides with this little geometry that I'm drawing on the chart here. That once we get done with this correction and we're generally crawling upward, we might expect to see the next long haul up that starts at the beginning of 2021. All right, let's get rid of that and jump out to the 1 day chart. But before we do that, let's talk about the on balance volume. Oh, we are on the 1 day chart. Okay, we're already there. So what does the on balance volume tell us? The on balance volume, if you haven't seen my previous videos, is kind of an approximation of the institutional buying, and it's trying to tell us if the big buyers are loading up and accumulating, or if it's in distribution, which means they're selling off or profiting from short positions. So looking at the on balance volume right here, we see this steady progression after this little dip. We just generally tend in a positive direction, and then when we had that big major pump before, we leveled up. Now, what is noteworthy is the fact that we leveled off and we have this base here where the next pump occurred at a higher point from where the base was before the previous pump. That tells me that the majority of the big bag holders are not getting rid of their positions. So this looks like the perfect setup of accumulation, waiting for a massive run, which might occur later on in 2021. Okay, so let's clear this out and jump back into the 4 hour. and see if we can scrunch this down. This last run was so obnoxious that you really can't even keep it on the chart here. Look at this, looking at the current run and then scrolling back to the last one. This is just ridiculous. Look at this, guys. We got to scroll all the way up here and we don't even see the price action of what's going on today in comparison. We have to have a logarithmic chart to fit all this in, and even on logarithmic scale, we can't fit in that last pump. That was big. So my guess is there's some big plans for Selfkey. And when we look at, let's see if I can pull up my Excel spreadsheet where we can look at the numbers as far as the circulating supply and the float. So let's jump down here and see if I can find my spreadsheet. And here we have it. This is my coin analysis sheet, and this is what I use to make good educated decisions on how far a project can go based on what the circulating supply is and what the total float is. So we're going to just look on down here. The ones that you see here that are in green are positions that I'm holding. Those are bags that I have, and the ones that are in the pink, those are DeFi projects that I've got my eyes on, and everything else that is on this list are projects that I think have the capability of doing major things. Now, here's key right here. So we are looking at a total supply of 5.99 billion, which is not too bad. Circulating supply is less than half at 2.793 billion. So in the float, what they could use to raise money, add to the project, get some things going, or launch the Lock project, the DeFi project that I'm very excited about. We've got 3.2 billion in the float. So that puts our market cap at $5.75 million. It's not bad for a small project. This is the size of the market cap of the ones that I look at that have extreme upside potential. Unlike the ones that are already really so big you don't have much room to go, like Litecoin, 3 billion. That's a big project there. XRP, 13 billion. So we're sitting at a nice little bitty $5.75 million. So we have a lot of upside. All right, so let's get rid of that. And looking back to the 4-hour chart, let's just zoom back in on our action of today. And boy, isn't it nice just looking at these great big volume bars here. What a pump. I mean, that is just massive. So in summary, well, let's look at the volume profile too. There's a little bit of evidence that we can see right here just on the volume profile. Let's scroll in so we can get some of this action that has occurred since the last pump. And then we see that the point of control, or the most popular price that the institutional buying is going on, is right here at about 0.003, okay? And so then we know that there are nodes where there is a lot of buying activity that goes on at other price points, which says that these are possibilities for where we could trade at again. Here's a big one right here, somewhere around 0.0025, which would coincide to where we could settle down on this 3.618 fib circle ring. We also have the big one that we just came out of from my green box, where I picked up another bag, and below that there's not much volume. So if we scrunch this down yet again, let's get the whole pump in here and just see what that volume looked like from that big run. It's pretty smooth here, but it looks like there's a little bit of more of a volume somewhere right around this area here that goes to the 0.006 to 0.008 area. So we can fight above this baseline right here and keep on crawling up. We could hit this slip zone here. And what happens in the slip zone is these are not as popular prices that the institutional buyers will jump in at. They usually jump in on these big bars that we see right here. I call those volume clusters. So we have a massive cluster here, a massive cluster here, and then more of a flat big one up here. So that's what I see on the chart right now for Key. Time will tell, but in the overall, in the grand scheme of things, I'm gonna hold. I don't see any reason to really jump in or out or try to day trade this. I'm just sitting on a very small bag. I only have 110,000 of these tokens, and I might accumulate. If we dip down again, I might pick up some more. We'll see. But I think in the long run, it's looking pretty good, and I'm excited to see what the project developers have in store with Lock. What are your thoughts about Key? What do you think that is going to happen next? Are we going to hold that baseline, or are we going to dip below that and break it? And what do you know about why this pump has occurred? Is this purely a technical move, or is there something going on behind the scenes? That's about all I got. This is Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro. Let's chop it up in the comments. And like and subscribe if you have not already. I'll keep you updated on Key, and you can bug me at any time to throw up some more technical analysis for this project, and I'll fill you in on what I see, what's going on. That's about all we got. We're out.